Front.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside.
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hairloss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Well, looky who decided to show up. How are you, Joseph?
I am good. How are you, Spencer?
I you know what? I think this is a calculated move on your part. You are on time or early for every one of the main event broadcasts, and you, for some reason, just like, oh shit, Kobren's back. Got to.
It's my.
I think I'm going to take my time today.
My day of relaxation, because I don't have to run everything. I'll just kind of mosey in. You know,
Actually, that's true.
Got my beverage of choice here.
That's true. I could see why you wouldn't be all freaked out trying to get into the studio early to make sure that your rig is working.
No, it's all smooth on Fridays. Fridays.
Here's what's funny, and we say this all the time. You see other people who do stuff on YouTube. Most people don't do anything live, but if they do, they don't have quite as a complicated setup where you need to take calls and you're running your own sound and you're running your own image.
Yeah.
Everything is just plug and play now.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, maybe we're the idiots.
Yeah. Maybe we're the ones that they're the dipshits here.
Yeah. I mean, I am speccing out. Actually, Andrew Zarian and Suncast are speccing out a new setup for me. It is unbelievable how inexpensive it is in comparison to when I built my studio.
Yeah.
Which was in 2009, by the way.
Yeah.
When this was black magic.
Literally.
Yeah.
Like the company, Black Magic.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, for a while it was. But, and I don't know if anyone knows what that means, but.
Most don't. That's okay.
Now, going live is going live on Instagram, doing Facebook Lives, doing YouTube Lives. Even if it's one or two cameras, it's just, everything's just so much easier. It's plug and play. There you go. They don't need to use the type of software that we're using. No one is doing analog. That is gone. That is gone by way of the dodo. And I understand that because analog is a pain in the ass. And honestly, you can't get the sound as good right now anymore. The way that everything's like artifacted. Is that the word? Everything is like compressed now.
Compressed and artifact. Yeah, exactly.
So when I play this back live, if I decide to record it, which I don't even record it anymore on my end, the sound is booming. It's really good. You sound great. My mic sounds really strong. And then when in my ear, when I hear it back on YouTube, not that it's terrible by any means, but you can hear all the artifacts and the compression.
Yeah.
I just saw something pop up out of your desk. Was that your dog?
Yes, it was my dog. Trying to get my attention.
Anyway, guys, 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. This is the Hair Loss Show. This is the original Hair Loss broadcast. First airing in June of 1998 on WABC Radio in New York City.
Wow.
I do
25 years.
I do probably have to have my head examined. That I've continued to do this in some iteration or another. And I'll tell you a couple of reasons why. Now that I'm getting a little bit more involved on Instagram, and what I mean involved is I'll post a segment of the broadcast a couple of times a week. And the followers are slowly growing. I think it's close to 9,000 followers now, which in the world of Instagram seems like, when people talk about having 1 million followers, it seems really small. But if you put 9,000 hair loss sufferers in a room, and you had to speak in front of them, it would freak most people the F out. How many people? A 9,000 person auditorium is huge.
Yeah.
So I'm noticing that getting more DMs and comments and, more, what is it called? Not interaction. That's what I would call it.
Likes.
It's
comments,
called,
DMs,
not traction,
shares.
not interaction, not, Jesus, you're old too. Anyway, engagement. So my whole gig is I can go out there and I could give people like little tidbits and top threes and top fives and all the happy horse shit. But I choose segments of the broadcast where we're exposing the truth. We're telling the truth. My whole gig now, especially later, at this point in my career, is really focusing on saving people from being botched by bad surgery. So to those who've had surgery or those who have chosen to maybe not do their due diligence and they've had surgery, they're really pissed off at me. They don't want to hear it.
No.
I had a guy that strongly, and I don't even think I said anything in this one. I'm trying to look what this was that this guy strongly disagreed with. This is how involved I am, sadly. What was it? It was, okay, so the caption was hair transplant tourism, insider surgeon unveils the truth. So essentially, this was Undercover Doc talking about the reality of what happens, say, going to Turkey or other places for a hair transplant. And this guy comments, and I understand, he comments, I disagree. I see people here waste thousands on PRP and other Band-Aids for hair loss. As long as you're 30 plus, I fully recommend going to Turkey and getting the hairline you want! Exclamation point.
I love the exclamation point.
You just now have to maintain the transplant and the other hair with PRP, lasers, meds, etc. In fact, I rarely see a transplant done in the USA that I think looks good, 100% sign. Hairlines aren't good, and they don't put the grafts close enough together here in the U.S. I've had 2 hair transplants in Turkey, and my hair looks capitals, all caps, great, exclamation point. Now, I'm happy that this guy is happy with his hair transplants. It's important. Go ahead. Joseph, go ahead.
Thank you. Joe Tillman, Vancouver, BC. Thank you very much. I have a question. If he's never seen anyone in the U.S. that puts them close enough together, why did he have to go back twice? Dun, dun, dun.
Well,
just curious.
So I was curious,
Anyway.
and I wanted to take a look and see who this guy was. And, nice-looking guy, super fit, younger guy, probably under 40. I don't know. He could be early 30s to late. It's hard to tell these days. Everyone's got kind of a beard and whatever it is. Yeah. And so he opted for the typical Turkish hairline design with the rounded corners, pretty straight, great density. There's no doubt this guy's got great density. But part of and this isn't to criticize this guy, I'm glad he's happy, and I hope that he's happy for a very long time to come. But I think what this guy doesn't realize is that he may be the anomaly where that type of hairline lasts him the next 20 years. Mm-hmm. And he may be the anomaly where he really can keep all the hair that he now says he has to try to keep. And he may be the anomaly where not having his temporal points reconstructed is okay for his lifetime. And he may be the anomaly of a lot of things. But given... What is this? Is that coming from my computer? Or is that you?
I don't know.
Maybe it's coming from you.
It's not,
so,
it's not my end.
And again, if he's listening, good-looking dude. It was a choice that he wanted to make for himself, and I'm really happy that he's happy. But all I can say, the vast majority of people who opt for that hairline design at that age will end up suffering a fate that they could never have imagined. Just in a few short years. It could be 7 years, 8 years, could last 10 years. But unless we come up with more effective treatments, these guys who have this type of dense packing and such a straight hairline, rounded corners, you know what happens, Joe? Eventually, their sides of their scalp, the hair that's left on the sides, will sometimes, many cases, separate from the hairline
because it moves back. Yep,
it moves back.
On the sides and the top.
Right, and in time it could look like it could actually look like a hairpiece as opposed to his own natural hair, or a person's own natural hair having to go through 2 surgeries or 3 surgeries growing out of their head. And it's really not a great, for most people, this guy could end up, he can contact me in 30 years if I'm still alive, send me some images and say, look at this motherfucker. Excuse my French. Look how good I look. You were wrong. But the point is, when people come onto a public platform like Instagram and they talk about their unique experiences, it makes other young guys think that anyone can do exactly what this particular young guy did. Thing is, it's not a one-size-fits-all procedure. Everyone has different hair characteristics, hair to scalp characteristics. Everyone has, a different threshold and different aesthetic sense. So for this guy, he is ecstatic, and he wants other people to do what he did and get the hairline they want, ! Sadly, in this industry, it's like you're dealing with a cosmetic procedure that is trying to focus on a moving effing target. It's not a nose job. It's not a chin implant or boob job. This is a moving target, and the future of your hair loss has to be assessed. And nobody has a crystal ball, even if you've done well on medication for 2 years. Nobody knows if it's going to last 5 years or 6 years or 7 years. So that all has to be put into the equation when you decide to have surgery. So the last thing you want to be is one of these sad guys who we speak to all the time, who in 3 or 4 years are left with nothing but their dicks in their hands. Literally and figuratively.
What I like is the analogy that it's a moving target, because you don't have to evaluate future nose loss for a rhinoplasty.
Right.
but it's a phenomenal reference or analogy. It's a moving target, as if you are actually trying to shoot a moving target. Excuse me. That really, I don't know. Sometimes it's one of those simplistic zingers that you just came up with that helps me to have another way to relate to people when they're asking about why not this, why not that. It's a moving target. I love that. That's fantastic, and it kind of reflects back on a conversation that was going on 2 days ago on my show where. Guy in the chat room, Milk Drinker, kept asking why can't guys have younger hairlines?
Yeah,
and that's a great addition to the reasons why I was talking about with the issues of these long-term results, where you do see people that have these younger-looking hairlines, but then lose behind it as they age.
Yes.
No question about it. Like it's not very common, but it is a hair loss pattern that's out there. But the difference between a transplanted hairline and this happening and this happening in nature is that the transplanted hairline doesn't degrade along with the loss behind it.
Correct.
They're terminal hairs, and when it happens naturally, there is some degradation, maybe some miniaturization that allows for a see-through effect throughout that frontal hairline, a little bit of recession in the temple points. This doesn't happen with a transplant. And so it definitely stands out.
100%.
Even if everything else is done right, even if donor management is on point, it looks ridiculous.
I want to make it clear if this guy is listening that right now, at least from his images, I could see why he's happy I really can't. Now, everyone has their own sense of aesthetics. You know, the hairlines that are being created now kind of have become the new normal in the world of hair transplant surgery. So, you know, it's kind of like these girls who have their lips done. You know, I was just traveling. I was in another city, and I talk about this all the time, but it's everywhere now. It's not just L.A. It's not just New York. I haven't seen too many young girls, I'm talking about under the age of 30, who haven't had their lips done already. No. And it's this new normal that everyone's aspiring to, but it's not natural. I'm not saying it's ugly or anything or unattractive. I don't know what the long-term effects are going to be. Oh, I kind of do know, but you know, whatever. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. But that's what these younger guys are going for. Now, these are hairlines that when hair transplant surgery was really at its peak, when it reached its logical endpoint, when the results coming out of the better clinics were so natural that no one in a million years could see that it was a hair transplant. While there's several, you know, obviously the IAHS members, you know, physicians who work with you, they're still creating these results on a larger scale. These results aren't what people are going for anymore. They want that Turkish hairline. They think that is what a hair transplant is supposed to look like, and they have no clue. I saw a guy here in Beverly Hills, went out to dinner just 2 weeks ago, sitting at a bar, really nice guy. May have told the story. And from a mile away, I'm like, this poor mother effer has a Turkish hair transplant. And it was thick as hell.
Yeah.
Really dense. Now, if the design was brought back maybe, I would say a full quarter of an inch in the temporal areas, and you know, maybe slightly, you know, an eighth of an inch in the front without that widow's peak, I may not have even noticed because he has very thick, textured hair. Mm-hmm. But it's just that sense of aesthetic that, for whatever reason, that part of the world is very different and doesn't really fit on a Caucasian's head or even, you know, most other ethnicities that I see. Mm-hmm. It's fucked up. That's all I'm going to say. It's really, what am I going to do though? I'm not going to fight with this guy. I'm like, listen, I'm glad you had a good experience, but I want to make it clear that your experience doesn't and probably won't equate to other people, young guys who are looking to kind of be told what they want to hear as opposed to what they need to hear. These guys are going to be like, yeah, Kobren doesn't know what he's talking about. Listen to this guy. He had 2 transplants, and he's ecstatic. He's telling me to go. I'm going to go. It's just an irresponsible message, I think.
Well, it actually reminds me of the Instagram influencer that you and I were chatting about the other day, where I forgot how we got in touch with each other. He was talking about going to Turkey, and he mentioned the clinic, and I think it caught my attention, and I reached out to him or something, but we started chatting, and I told him, I said, because of your position in Instagram, because of your influencer status, you probably want to pick a better clinic. And he did reach out to me because he wanted my opinion. And he said, well, I really appreciate that, but you know, I might as well go through with it because I leave tomorrow, or I leave that. I leave
shit!
Tomorrow,
I think I know who you're talking about. I just saw his results. Yeah. Oh my God! He was in a car in the dark, and you can see what's going on.
Yeah,
doubles, triples.
One thing I noticed, and he seemed happy. He's talking about his 6-month result.
Yeah, I get it.
And he seems happy about it. And I'm noticing, okay, so the hairline height, it actually is pretty good. It's just the height. It wasn't too aggressive, which was nice. But I noticed that they put too much rounding in the corners. That is not what you see with a higher hairline. The way it's just the dimensions were off, and that's fine. I mean, it's most people wouldn't notice it. But what I did notice, aside from those multis in the hairline, was that the temple points as it comes down, it is far thicker in this temple point area than it is in the hair behind it.
Yeah.
Because he had some retrograde alopecia above his ears, and they packed the shit out of his temple points, and it's darker. It came out darker, which happens sometimes, and it's probably twice the density as the hair behind it, and it looks terrible.
Look, I want to make it clear to everyone who's watching this, like, I wouldn't pay for this swoop. You know, I'd be pretty bummed if I came out of surgery and I ended up with this shit. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not criticizing the way people look. I do what I have to do to feel comfortable in my own skin. You know, the hairspray and the side part, a little bit of comb over, whatever it is. And I'm sure there are plenty of young guys who are like, holy shit, I would not want to live like that. I get it. I get it. But if you're going in for surgery and you have the options and you're taking a risk, you want to make sure it's long-lasting, it's aesthetically appropriate, and that in the end, come 5 years, come 10 years, you're not going to be miserable. That's all we're saying. Yeah. You're not going to waste all of your precious donor in 1 or 2 sessions. And then again, be left with your dick in your hand in 10 years. And basically like a helmet, like a partial helmet of hair in front in the front third of your head with retrograde alopecia and a bald spot. And your donor is probably going to diminish because most of your hair, at least 3,000 grafts or so, were taken from zones that are not normally DHT resistant and may not react well or respond well to medication. So I'll take my swoop. 888-659-3727. Let's take a phone call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hi, Spence. It's Karen, hair boutique from Dallas, Texas.
Karen, how are you? Nice to hear from you.
Hi, Joe. Hey. I only call when I have something. I only call when I have something really important to say. And first of all, were your guys' ears burning today?
No, but my palms always itch.
Okay, because I was raving
my big toe got stubbed and it hurt.
I was raving about both of you. As I've mentioned before, my husband, who he's been taking finasteride since 1992, and he was doing great, maintaining his hair. He started out at about a Norwood 4, and he's kind of moved up to a Norwood 5, but he has really nice hair in the front, has a good bridge, has good donor hair, and he was very happy as a lamb, paid his money, got his pills, took them religiously. And about 6 months ago, he started this major shed, and he was freaking out, of course. And he said to me, hey, what is happening? And I talked about this maybe on this show, and I know I probably mentioned it on Joe's show, The Main Event. And I said to him, I think they probably are messing around with your generic. And it wasn't the full formula. It was a generic. And he got it from edrugstore.com. He used to have a doctor who prescribed gave him the full script, and then he stopped doing it. And anyway, he wound up going with eDrugstore, and for about 5 years, it worked just fine. Right. But I said to him, you know what? You're going to have to go to a hair loss expert. Who knows what they're putting in the formula, right? I mean, really, right, guys?
Absolutely.
Right, Spence? Yeah. So, we had a long talk about it. He's like, well, I don't really want to transplant, blah, blah. And I said, that's okay. And I said, hey, one of Spence and Joe's doctors is like 30 minutes from our house, and we should go see him. And so he called and made an appointment, and it was going to be like, what did I tell you, Joe? It was going to be like 5 weeks out. Yeah. And I called and I asked Joe, I said, is that normal? And Joe goes, yeah, it's normal. Well, guess what? They called and said, hey, we have a cancellation, and we can get you in really quick. And so he went today, and
awesome.
Oh, my God, it was the most amazing. If they would have told my husband he needed a head transplant, he would have signed the line right there. Yeah.
Well, that's not good. I'm just kidding.
He was so, and shout out to Blake Smith. Shout out to Blake, who was amazing and has a great head of hair, by the way, and said great things about you guys and about Joe. And Dr. Yeager spent like 30 minutes talking to my husband, and I got to come in and listen. And, you know, I had to keep my mouth shut because I wanted to ask a million questions, but I managed to keep my mouth quiet while he did all the talking. And it was shocking what he recommended for my husband. Totally not what I was expecting, but it makes total absolute sense. They did all the great, you know, they say come early. They mailed him all the forms. He had to fill out all the medical forms. He filled all those out. We got there. It's a gorgeous place. Oh my gosh, it's the most beautiful office med spa I've ever been in. The people are very friendly, gorgeous space. And they were right on time. Blake showed up, very, very kind, very nice, showed us around. And then he took amazing photos. Like they have a room just where they do the photos with all the lights and the cameras. And he had him turn multiple directions so they could get a lot of before pictures. Very, very impressive. And then he said, you know, Blake said, Dr. Yeager is doing surgery. And I'm like, really? He's doing surgery now? And he goes, oh, yeah, you know, he's in surgery, but he'll be done. He'll be able to take a little break, and he'll come talk to you in his office. And so we went in, and he had the most incredible presentation. They examined my husband's scalp. He was able to tell him exactly what was happening with the scalp, with the where the hair was growing, what was happening with the bridge. And he agreed. He said, you know, it could be that whatever's happening, and he explained all about the generics and all the crazy stuff that can go on with generics and how nobody has to tell you what's in there, and it could be that.
And honestly, he's one of the few guys who takes the time to really explain that to people. There's even some doctors who are great surgeons, guys that have been with us for, you know, the IHS for 20 years. They're part of what we do because they're great surgeons. And there's something about Joe Yeager where he's really involved. He really understands the reality that, you know, not all generics are created equal. I'm pretty sure that he agrees with us, or at least I think he does, as far as for some people, finasteride is dose dependent, even though for years doctors claimed that it wasn't the case. He's a unique guy. He really is. He's very thorough.
Yep.
Very impressed. Well, guess what he recommended? This was shocking. Because I told my husband, Joe always talks about being a name brand whore, that, you know, Spence and Joe are name brand whores, right? You guys are name brand whores, right?
I am.
So,
I am. But there are good generics.
So I told Michael, I said, he'll probably just give you a name brand, like maybe ProScar or something. But he'll probably do that. So that's what I was expecting. Oh, no. He said, no, we need to nip this shedding in the bud, and we need to get in there with a topical that is custom formulated. And then, you know, Joe and Spence, how he has that special lab he works with in the United States.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He told me.
Yep.
He explained all about that, and how he's very picky, and how, you know, every prescription is customized according to the script that he writes, and that has to be shipped to you after he writes the prescription. And he wants them to start taking a topical with minoxidil 5% and some finasteride 0.25, and then a few other things in there. And he said, I want you to do it every day for 90 days, see what happens. And if it seems like everything's thickening back up to where it was before the shedding, then just keep taking it. If not, you know, give us a call and we'll assess. And if everything seems good, just in 90 days, renew the prescription, and then come back in 6 to 9 months, and we'll see where you're at.
Now, what about the oral medication? Is he suggesting that he stop taking oral altogether?
Yeah. He said, no, stop. He said, well, until you start with the topical, keep taking the oral, although the question is it doing any good? Because it seems like it's not doing very well anymore. E-drugstore.
I have a question. I don't know if this is, and you don't have to tell me because this is, you know, it could be personal, but has he had, in the last year, any vaccinations of any kind?
No.
Okay.
No. Mm-mm. He's like it's really disgusting, Spence. He is the most healthy person I've ever known. He gives me a bad name. He really does. I don't know him.
I think that's great.
Public, I don't know him. He works out every day and he eats super healthy. He doesn't drink soda. He doesn't smoke. He doesn't drink. I mean, he takes walks. He meditates. He does yoga. It's disgusting, really. It's
good
really
for him, and good for you. Good for you. Well, listen. I've known people who've worked, who've seen Dr. Yeager, who've been on his topicals, and have had very excellent results. So. I mean, it's really it is possible for sure that the generic was switched out, and this may be something that really helps him a lot. You always should keep in mind that the oral medication is always going to be there as well. So at some point, if things don't work out, you could ask Dr. Yeager for an oral prescription, or even if you wanted brand name, I'm sure that he would do that. But I know that he's seen some really great results in his practice with the prescriptions he's been providing. So I think it's good.
Yeah. Well, you can imagine how shocked I was because, I've become a pain in the butt to Joe on the main event.
Somebody has
not
to.
at
all the
all.
time, and he's like, oh, no, there's that Karen from Hair Boutique. Ooh, boo, hiss,
Love when
doubt
you
it.
call. You're one of the best callers ever. So don't stop.
Okay.
Don't think that don't think that you're annoying me. I love it when you call.
Okay. Well, then I've got to deal with Rob Hellner, who's like next caller. So, and Milk Drinker always has much better questions than I do. I mean, you need to bottle that guy.
Well, that guy needs to pick up the phone and call and stop complaining about it being an international call. Put some bucks on his Skype account so he can ask the questions personally, because I'm not going to keep taking his questions just in the chat room. He owes it to all of you to actually pick up his Skype app and call in. Just saying.
We need to, we were going to get Marty a stripper. In fact, by the way, I was the first caller today because I told my husband, I have to get in line because if I don't, Marty's going to beat me and then I might not be able to shout out to Blake and Dr. Yeager, But anyway, I've been waiting patiently to talk to you guys because I really wanted to make sure that, I was able to tell. And my husband's like, oh my God, you got to put Dr. Yeager's on the front page of Hair Boutique, and you got to tell. And he was telling all his friends, this guy's great. And I said, I'm in shock because you guys, Spence. It never occurred to me that he would recommend a topical. I mean, with all the conversations, especially last week, about all the, the rise and all the costs for all the medications around the United States, I was thinking, he would just give them a name brand prescription, but. No.
Well, listen,
So cool,
I'm glad you guys had a great experience. But the bottom line is, you'll know how great your experience is in 90 days, or in or 120 days. So, I mean, it's great office, great bedside manner. He really believes in the topical preparations that he's prescribing. I've known many of his patients who have had great results. So your husband will probably have great results as well. But you never know. It's the thing about medication.
Yeah.
It's the practice of medicine. So,
but, on a side note, I waited a little bit because, Joe wanted me to do a secret shopper kind of thing. So I kind of didn't really play my cards until after I could see that, my husband's over there, like, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, whatever you want. Yeah. I'm like, oh, my God. And so then I said, oh, by the way, I've known Spencer since his book came out. And he's like, really? Did you know him in New York? I guess his mother knew you or something. And I said, no, I didn't know him. When I knew him, he was in New York, but I knew him when he wrote his book. And I wrote a review, which is still on Hair Boutique 25 years later.
Time flies.
It's still there, the original review.
I can't believe
and
it.
I said, if Spence told me to shave my head because it would be good for my hair, I would do it.
Wow. Well, don't do that. You don't need to.
Yeah, don't do that.
You have been,
No.
First of all, I appreciate everything that you've done over the years, and I appreciate the fact that you were, willing to pick up the phone 25 years ago when I just started my career to do that interview, and it was great. And you've been great ever since.
Yeah. Well, you guys are great. And in fact, when I left, they probably said, do you think Joe and Spence paid her money to come in here and just like rave about her? Because she was over the top. And I have two quick things to finish with because, of course, Marty may be calling. But number one, Dr. Yeager has the most incredible hairline I've ever seen. So when Milk Drinker wants to know about great hairlines, he's got to check him out, okay?
Yeah,
and then the second thing, as we were leaving and checking out to, pay the bill and everything, I was just sitting there quietly, which is not what I normally am, but this woman comes in and she kind of looked a little freaked out, and she says to me, because I was alone, she goes, are you here to see the doctor? And I go, no, I was with that guy because he was over there paying the bill. And she goes, do you know anything about him? And I go, oh, yeah, he's one of the best. And she's like, well, let me show you what happened to me. And so she sits down next to me and she lifts her hairline. She said, I had a surgical lift and it destroyed my hair. And she was showing me, oh my gosh, I felt bad for her. And she said, do you think you'll be able to help me? I said, well, if anybody can help you, he probably can. I can't, I don't know him that well.
So she had a brow lift?
She had a brow lift.
Yeah.
And you could see where and she said, ever since then, my hair has just not been okay.
That is,
and I said, well, you're in the right place. This guy is awesome. He's a really good doctor.
Yeah.
And so she seemed relieved.
Well, if she doesn't have androgenic alopecia and she just needs to replace her hair from the surgery, then yeah, he can definitely help her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, he said, oh, it took me a while to get into their list, to the Spence and Joe famous list for doctors. And he said, but it was worth it because I'm very proud to be one of their doctors. And I said, yeah, all their doctors are just amazing. Yeah. So,
well, Karen, listen,
it was a love fest. You guys weren't there, but it was a love fest.
I'm really glad that you guys had a great experience. I'm sure that everyone in the chat and everyone listening to this podcast is going to think that you are now a paid spokesperson for Dr. Yeager. And I know you're not.
I am not. I am not. In fact, one more side note, because it's kind of interesting. Years ago, probably 20 years ago, I had a mole on my face that kind of popped up overnight. My doctor said, you better have that taken off. It could be precancerous. And I didn't want some hack to just chop it off, And so he said, there's a very good plastic surgeon by the name of Dr. Nathan Yeager who does a really good job with skin. You might go see him. So I did.
That's his dad, yeah.
He took the mole off my face. And no scar. And so today I said to him, hey, are you related to Dr. Nathan? He goes, that's my dad.
Yeah.
So it's all in the family.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah. So,
well, again, I'm glad you had a great experience. I'm glad your husband's happy.
Thanks, you guys.
And please let us know how he does. I'm sure you will.
Trust me. Yeah. Trust me. I will call just so Rob Helmer will say, next caller, please.
He probably already is.
Yeah, probably is.
He's not in the room, actually. I'm wondering where he is.
I think
he's been busy. He's not been on a show for a while, but he did say he saw the last show on Wednesday, and but he had to watch the replay. So I hope he's doing okay.
Oh, Karen, hairboutique.com, guys, check it out. Is he getting a transplant?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, he's getting another surgery with Dr. Umar,
that's right.
And I think it's coming up, Joe, right? First part of July.
Yeah,
so
I believe so. So maybe he's traveling. Maybe he's traveling to California or something.
Yeah.
Right,
anyway,
guys.
Thank you for the shout out, Spence, and thank you guys, and thanks for putting up with me. I just love you guys.
Oh, you're great.
Thank you.
Love you too. Take care.
Absolutely.
Bye bye.
Okay.
Thanks, Karen. Bye
bye.
888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from? Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Hey, how you doing, Spence and Joe? Welcome back, Spence.
Hey, who's this?
We're good.
This is Joe. This is Joe Bless calling from Jersey.
Hey, Joe from Jersey. What's going on?
Hey, I'm well. Can't complain, man.
Good.
Just calling in for a quick little update. So this is my 6 month. Well, I'm approaching 7 months. I went to ASMED, got 2,300 grafts, 2,000 in my front and corners and my temples, and 300 in my crown. So updates. Yeah, everything's going well thus far. The crown is looking good, which is usually what grows the slowest, so I'm pretty good with that. My temples are pretty good. But my corners, like my edges, like the last time I spoke to Joe, he even mentioned that the left side always grows slower than the right side. And it's still growing slower, man. It's still growing slower. So
yeah,
my question for you, Joe, is so after 6-7 months, right? Is it possible for new hairs to sprout? Or if it hasn't sprouted yet, that means they're like never going to sprout.
Yes. Yeah, no, the answer is an absolute resounding yes. There can and will be more hairs in most cases. You would be a unique outlier if all the grafts have sprouted by month 6.
So even if you like,
there's a misperception online. Like you have these guys document their results on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, or on Reddit, God forbid, and they've created this sense that if your results aren't full by month 4 or 5, then it's a failure. That's the furthest thing from the truth. Month 6, on average, is
the start, right?
I'd say it's more. I'd say it's more than 50%, but it certainly isn't anywhere near 100%. It's probably not even 75% on average. So yeah, you got not just more grafts that are going to be coming in, but the ones that have come in will be getting longer. They'll be getting a bit thicker in diameter, and just the whole maturation process of grafts that have already sprouted, combining with the ones that will be coming through. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball for individual patients, but I can tell you that the probability of more hairs popping through is very high.
Okay, sounds good. I even tried a few weeks ago. I got a PRP, so I just did that to try to add blood circulation to the scalp. Are you against that, or do you think that that's okay?
My position on post-surgical treatments is don't do a damn thing, because just hear me out, and then I'll talk about your case specifically. Okay, the reason why I take this position is because there should be no reason to do additional treatments of any sort other than treatments that you've been on, such as finasteride, oral minoxidil, whatever. Because good surgery is good surgery, and thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, are getting great hair restoration results, surgical, way before PRP became a thing for hair loss. Way before. So I understand the desire to encourage every little graft to grow as soon as possible, as strong as possible, by throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, at it after you had surgery. But I'm a big believer in letting good surgery do what it needs to do, and that is grow on its own, because it should. And I'm not you said something about PRP to increase blood flow. Where did you go to? Which clinic did you go to for PRP? And did they tell you it increases blood flow to the scalp?
I didn't go to a clinic for PRP. First of all, ASMED is not even like a huge believer in PRP. They're not they didn't try to push it down my throat or recommend it to me. It was more of a doing my own research and listening to some of your shows throughout the week with some of the doctors that came. Kind of encouraged me to give it a chance. And I got it at a doctor. I didn't get it at a clinic. A doctor performed the PRP. A local doctor.
A local doctor, just was it a cosmetic doctor of some sort, or a hair restoration doctor?
Exactly, like a hair restoration type of doctor. Yeah.
Who was it?
I don't know her name.
You forgot?
I could find it real quick. One second.
Dr.
Because the reason I'm asking
is Rodney Dangerfield's
Dr. Bruick, Brouk. I
don't think I've heard of this doctor. So did this doctor tell you that if you have how did this is going to be interesting. How did this come about? Why did you go to this doctor?
Okay, so,
how'd you choose him or her for PRP? And what did they tell you about PRP for
Caller,
your
you said the wrong
recovery?
thing to Tillman, man. I'm telling you.
Okay, so this is how it started, right? This is how it started. So 3 months in, right, I went to my dermatologist and just, just for a checkup to see his thoughts on how my surgery went thus far, to see if he had any ideas. And he looked at it, right? And he was like, it doesn't look like it's growing. And I'm like, it's only 3 months. It's definitely growing. Like, so there happened to be like a doctor that performed PRP like right next door-ish. And then he kind of like, you know how these doctors work with each other. So he kind of like, recommended her. So I walked into her office and she was like, yeah, it doesn't look like it's growing. I definitely recommend you get PRP. Da, da, da. So I waited a few months, just to, think about it. Cause I try not to overreact.
Do you know what kind of doctor she is? Do you know what her specialty is?
I could look in it and I'll call back and tell you.
Sure. Okay.
But
it can't be anything to do with hair.
No.
That's what she works on is all hair and stuff.
She
like
may
that.
work.
So
she may work on hair. She may have taken like a trichology course, and she may have offered PRP or TED or some of these newer laser, things that are being marketed.
Is she actually a doctor? That's what I want to know.
I mean, you could Google her name. I could spell it for you.
Yeah, Joe will do that. Joe loves exposing people.
BROUK. We'll talk about it next time I call. But yeah, so
BROUK.
Correct. So I waited
is this Emerson, New Jersey?
Correct.
Oh shit.
Her thing is called Med.
Is she like anti-aging or something? What's your story? Med spa?
Yes, anti-aging med spa. I looked at the reviews.
Really? I haven't even looked that up.
Oh my God.
Huh?
Sorry, I'm looking at her homepage.
I didn't even Google that. And when Joe said, "Oh God," I'm like, "What is it? Anti-aging?"
Yeah, it's anti-aging med spa.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Oh my God. I'm looking. Sorry, I just got a comment. I'm looking at her homepage, and it looks like some sort of Halloween. Like, I don't even know what this image is. It's so bizarre, and everything's in red, like red font, and it says the secret to health, youth, and beauty is in your own blood. Dr. Brooks specializes in the following medical. Oh my God! Erectile dysfunction, impotence, andropause, hair loss, alopecia, hydrofacial care revive, facial aesthetics and chemical peels, aging skin, acne scars. Jesus, it just keeps going. Peyronie's disease, dyspareunia, lichen sclerosis. Holy shit!
She's treating dicks. She's treating dicks.
PRP process is so simple.
Chronic gingivitis and receding gums.
The PRP process is so simple. I feel like anyone could really do it if I'm not mistaken. But the fact that she was a doctor, I felt more comfortable.
Look, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be laughing about this because you made a choice to go get a treatment, and I need to be more sensitive to your needs. Cheap. I apologize,
yeah,
but
they are not cheap, Joe. No, they are not cheap.
How much did it cost you?
Of course not. Let's hear it.
About 800.
How much?
That's cheap.
That is pretty cheap. Oh, 800.
That's cheap.
That's not terrible.
Better than it could be. I do my shopping. So
did you ask her to save a little bit for your dick?
I did my shopping.
Not gonna lie, I was thinking about it on my way out. I was like, I'm already here. Might as well do something else.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
right.
so we did that.
So I think Morty may have done that just to have a woman hold his. I'm just kidding, Morty. I'm kidding.
Hello.
Yeah, because usually after you do the first one, they make you do the second one a month later. I'm considering pushing it back, especially after this conversation. Yeah, but like I said, so it makes me happier the fact that you guys said that even though everything hasn't sprouted yet, that there's still a chance of things still sprouting. I spoke to Susan this morning, and she was like, "This is her exact words." Which is, do you want me to read her exact words, or do you want me to?
Sure. Yeah, she's great.
Her exact words: "Go fuck yourself."
I know she is. She said, Hey, Joe, there's nothing to worry about. It's only been 7 months post-op. You will have until 15 to 16-month post-op. There's no worries about anything. Maybe you can apply some minoxidil foam to speed up the blood circulation, and that's it. Everything looks just as it should be. Every part of your hair can grow at the same time. Which made sense
good
to me.
answer. I don't look at sprouts coming in at 16 months. I have seen it. I have seen it like maybe twice. I saw one case where at like 14 months it was, it looked like it was a failure. And then 18 months he comes back in and he's like, look at my result. And we're like, holy shit, it actually did come back after a year and a half. Surgery. Mm-hmm. So I've seen some crazy things in this industry, but I would say that the sprouts will come in sooner rather than later, as far as what she was saying. But her response is spot on as far as, maybe you could add some sort of topical actual improvement for blood circulation, like minoxidil being a vasodilator. PRP doesn't do that.
Yeah, and I would say that you probably, after 12 months, you'll be lucky to see anything new, but it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you still have time. You're 7 months, so you're talking about 4 more months or 5 more months.
I'm not a fan of topical minoxidil, but I will consider oral minoxidil. Will that do the same? Yeah. Have the same effect, or
it actually may have
more
effect.
I think oral.
It may have a better effect. Yeah.
My question to you in regards to minoxidil oral, right? Can I get it from like that lady, because she sells minoxidil as well, or do I have to get it from a pharmacy? Like, what's the difference between getting it from like the over the counter?
Well, you got to get a prescription from a doctor, and you go to a pharmacy to pick it up.
Well, he's talking about oral.
Yeah, the oral.
Yeah.
Well, she sells it as well, so.
Yeah, I mean, what she's probably doing is most likely she uses a compounding pharmacy and provides you with probably 2.5 milligrams or something like that.
2.5 or 5.
Yeah. Generic? Is generic and
it's all generic.
Name brand.
It's all generic.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter when it comes to minoxidil, right?
It's not that it doesn't matter. It's just it's been around for so long. First of all, no one's going to pay for brand name, and
the option's not even there. Loniton's not even made anymore.
Oh, it's not?
Nope.
Don't scare me, man. Nope. Keep thinking about that with finasteride. Yeah, so there you go. You got to go. So it really depends on the compounding pharmacy, depends on the doctor you go to. It's a pretty commonly prescribed drug, so I mean, there's a good chance that whatever you get is going to be effective.
Okay, so I'll probably get the minoxidil oral. I'll consider that. And
if you've already paid for the PRP package, forget about the head. Use the rest for other body parts. You know what I'm saying?
I only paid for one session. They're getting ready to get me to pay for the second session the month after, and after this call, I'm really reconsidering it. So
yeah, I would reconsider it. I think that's a good idea. Just let nature take its course, and if you want to start with medication, talk to the doctor about it. Maybe even speak to ASMED about it. Let them know. Let them know what you're doing first of all. So if you're going to take oral minoxidil, let them know.
Yeah, because when I was doing what do you call that? The needles, when you press the needles into your hair, I forgot what you call that stuff.
Microneedling.
Derma rolling?
Yeah, when I was
microneedling,
derma rolling, and I told Joe, he was like, "What are you doing?" So since then I've been telling Susan before I do things. So,
I'm so glad that you found this, man.
Yeah. My last point.
You're going to destroy your hair transplant. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You haven't, but I'm glad that you're stopping and listening, and just let nature take its course.
And moving forward, if you want to try something to add to your scalp or your hair or your overall system to improve your results before 12 months, just say no.
I thought you were going to pull a bottle of some snake oil, Joe, and say, "Try this."
But yeah, exactly. But call me or call us, depending on the day. And run it by us. Like we'll tell you not only not to do it, but why. Like if it's even worth considering to begin with for the long term. But yeah, I mean, look, good surgery is good surgery. Give it the time it deserves to do what it's going to do.
Cool. I have one.
That's why I always look at it.
So I was listening to your broadcast on Wednesday in regards to how to like ask your doctor to give you name brand finasteride.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to use the same script on him today, right? I tried to tell him, can I get a refill on finasteride, but can you please put in the prescription for it to be name brand and not generic? And when I talked to the administrators, they couldn't do it. Like, it was kind of like they didn't, like, it's like they never, I'm not sure if it's that administrator that want to go over and beyond, or it's just like maybe something they're not used to, but like the script didn't work. So I might have to go in person and try to, have a conversation with them. But other than that, like, is that all I'm supposed to do? Is like how?
Well, if they're going to write name brand, they have to write the name of the product. So say they're doing ProScar, or did you want ProScar or Propecia?
What Asthma had gave me was Propecia. So
Okay.
I've been using Propecia. My last after that I have another question.
All right. Well, it's the same thing, but ProScar is 5 milligrams and Propecia is 1 milligram.
I'm using it 5 milligrams, so it must be
So you're using ProScar.
Yeah.
Okay. So the doctor has to write a prescription for ProScar. One daily, whatever. Get a 30-day script for how many refills, and it has to say name brand only.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there's no finasteride.
Why didn't the administrator say? Why did she say that he doesn't have that or something like that? I was confused
because
when she said
she
that.
doesn't know what she's talking about. She never
That's
heard
why I
of
thought,
it.
like, what do you mean he doesn't have it?
Or if it is a facility that actually sells the medications they prescribe, and they say we don't have it, well, it's because they don't have it. They don't bring in the name brand stuff. They just work with the generic stuff, which is what most people expect anyway.
Mm-hmm.
All right, brother.
They prescribe it and I get it.
All right, brother. Joe wants me to give you the hook, so.
I said nothing I said nothing of the sort. Nothing of the sort. But Joe, thanks for the call. I'm glad you called us. Okay. Don't rush into anything else. Just let it do what it's going to do, and call us if you got questions or if you're on the edge about to do something.
Sounds good.
We'll talk you off the ledge. Okay.
All right, Joe. You take care, man. Good talking to you.
All right, Joe. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye. Phone number is 888-659-3727. I get it. I get it. People want their hair to grow. They will do anything that they can. But it is amazing. I haven't seen this person's website. But as soon as you said, oh, my God, I'm like anti-aging, right? That's the way that it is. All of a sudden, people, they go to the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. They see all this stuff that's going on. They're like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start injecting penises. I'm going to start doing facials. Anything that we can do PRP with, we're going to do. We can charge $800 to $1,500 to $2,000 a pop, and we're going to have people lining up outside of our door to get this treatment.
With masks.
Because it works, apparently, for everything.
Yeah.
It may even be sold to stem cells to some degree. Who knows? What a fucking world, man.
I want to chime in with a clarification on Lonitin. It says medically reviewed by drugs.com on March 30th, 2023, written by Saner Multum. The Lonitin brand name has been discontinued in the U.S. If generic versions of this product have been approved by the FDA, there may be generic equivalents available. And down below it, another resource that says for Canadian patients, it says Lonitin is the only commercially available oral minoxidil in Canada. It is currently on long-term manufacturer backorder with indeterminate availability. Talks about compounding during the nationwide shortage for patients that require it, blah, blah, blah. And apparently, Mr. Rolandis, who's in the chat room, welcome back, our friend.
Oh, my God, he's alive. Thank God.
He is alive. And someone else says that Lonitin is still being sold in Australia
and New Zealand.
So
I didn't want to correct you.
Yeah,
I know you would do that to me, but
every time I can.
Yeah.
So I don't want to alarm everyone. If you want your Lonitin, fly to Australia. You can get it there.
And for those of you who are asking why my hair looks darker, it's the lights, man. Every day it's a different. I switch the light setup. The cameras move slightly different. It's a shirt. I didn't dye. I'm not dyeing my hair, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm too paranoid to f with it. So
and sorry, Amin or Anand, Hair Loss Cure 2020. Damn, Joe, this is my post for tomorrow. Sorry.
Well,
I take it back. I didn't say any of that.
Here's the good news. No one's listening to the show, so go for it. Phone number is 888. What?
He says an Australian just emailed me and said there's no Lonitin there either. Uh-oh.
Wow. There's a Lonitin shortage, apparently.
Yeah, I guess so.
All hell's breaking loose. You know, the hair wearers who have writing the American Hair Loss Association, there's been a hair shortage since the pandemic, and things seem to have gotten better, but they're not great. And all these companies have closed their doors, and the products they're saying is really, really crappy, so they don't know where they're sourcing the hair.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you, man, this pandemic really fucked people up. Really, it fucked everything up. A little dude with a Brooklyn accent. I don't think you can care less. Anyway, 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Mike from Washington State.
Mike from Washington State.
Hey, Mike.
How are you, sir?
How you doing?
I'm all right.
Actually got two questions. I heard the tail end of that ProScar thing. But the first question, I saw an old interview you did with Dr. Go. Is he still around? Is this technique where the way he does hair transplants worth it in your opinion? Or
Wow. Look, man, first of all, Dr. Go's been around forever. I chose to open my doors and do an interview with him because of the enormous, insanity that was ensuing online. This is before Reddit and before all the other stuff that was out there, when the insanity was really just relegated to the message forums. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to talk to this guy. I'm going to be very open-minded. And I was, and he was very nice. You know, we had a really great conversation, and I've spoken to him many times over the years. But the reality is that, you know, in my view, the technique was never a superior technique. And we really don't know, we haven't really been able to track the long-term results from any patient that decided to go that route, or who, even the militant patients who decided to go that route many years ago. Joe, I don't know, do you know anyone who's had a Go procedure that you've been able to track over the last decade or so, or even 20 years?
No, but you know what, that's actually, I remember there's some people online that were showing their results that were very thin because of the way that he did his procedure.
Right.
He didn't call it a surgery. I'll look into that. I'd like to see how it looks, if there's a possible way to follow up on that. But I would be surprised if there's any long-lasting results, just because of the way that the surgery, don't call it a procedure, was performed. Very weak.
So to answer your question, we don't hear much about Dr. Go anymore, so I don't know what's up with him.
Yeah, probably good reason for it. Scratch him off the
I
list.
hear Jack about.
You never know.
Jack about him.
All I know is that for quite a long time there was a lot of stuff online about how Kobren is trying to suppress the information about Dr. Go because he's making millions of dollars off of hair transplant surgery with his list of happy horsemen or whatever people are writing about us. And I'm just like, let's have him on the show. Let's talk to this guy. Let's see what this is all about. And then all of a sudden, things just died down, and he kind of just disappeared. So
probably in hiding.
He's still around, actually.
Well,
he's still doing his thing.
It sounds like it sounds like a good technique. increasing the hair count from the donor area by subdividing them or whatever he does. I don't know.
Yeah, it does sound like a good technique, and there are probably some people who were happy with it. But the results that we've seen online, that we saw online at the time, were like, you could see why they were thin, and there wasn't a lot of density. But I'm sure there's plenty of people. He must have some happy patients out there for sure.
Yeah, he's still in business doing work. And the second question was, I caught the very tail end of the ProScar thing and the name brand. I've been getting it. I didn't even think of asking about this. I think I heard about this before, that there could be a possible difference between generic and, like Pro-PC. And I guess ProScar is a name brand too?
Yeah, ProScar.
For the 5 milligram. That's what
ProScar's name brand, yeah.
Yeah, I get ProScar, and I guess I might be getting generic, so I might do that. But do you have just anecdotal evidence that there's difference?
Listen, if you're doing well on whatever you're taking, just make sure, if you're on generic, just make sure you know which generic you're on. So you could ask the drugstore that you get it from, the name of the pharmaceutical company who's making your generic, and make sure you have a picture, you know what the pill looks like. And if you see it's being switched out on you, you can talk to your pharmacist and see what's up and see where you can source that, either online or elsewhere. Generics work, but sometimes when you switch from one generic to the next, people lose results. Or if you're on name brand and go to a generic, you lose results. Or in some cases, you may even experience side effects that you weren't experiencing when you were on a specific generic. So just be aware of what you're taking.
I can only assume the only thing I'm doing really is ProScar, chopping it up, 2.5 milligrams. And I kind of have it by my chair here, and I look at my reminder to take it is when I look over and see it there, and I'll do 1, 2, 3 a week maybe.
Okay. Well, if you're doing well,
I'm assuming I've been on it for a long, 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 long time.
Dude, I was taking just 5 milligram dose once a week for years. And then I started to lose ground. I upped my dosage, and I started to kind of close the window between the days off. Now I'm taking a 5 milligram dose about every 4th day. So I take it, skip 3 days, take another dose, skip 3 days, take another dose. And things seem to have gotten a little bit, as far as, I thought I was going through a telogen effluvium or somewhat of a shed for a while. So it seems better in that respect. I do notice a change. I have a little bit more retrograde alopecia than I had, but I'm also, I'm 58. So shit's going to happen. Even if it's not just the progression of my male pattern hair loss, you have, aged alopecia. The hair shaft diameter just gets slightly thinner as you get older.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm 62, and I can only assume it's helping. I mean, I started losing hair. I remember when I was 15 years old, and one smartass making a comment about my hair loss back when I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, if you still have hair, then it's doing something, man.
Yeah, and I'm 62, and I look on Facebook and see some of these assholes that
well, I know.
had a full head of hair when I knew them, and they're totally bald, and I got a lot more hair than these guys.
I don't even say anything about it to these guys. They see me, guys that initially would poke fun at me, and I notice that their wives are checking me out. I know it sounds obnoxious, but whatever. It's just like, you know what? I filed that shit away, dude. But I know. And now you want my help, right? I mean, I help them, of course. What am I going to do? I don't want to see anybody suffer. But kids are brutal, man.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, Spencer,
all right, brother.
I appreciate it.
All right, good luck. Thanks for the call.
All right, have a good one.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
888-659-3727. This is the number one call-in hair loss show in the world, besides the main event. Let's see who this is. Get it? Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Undercover, buddy.
Undercover.
What up?
Yeah, man.
What's happening? Undercover.
What up?
I got shit for posting a clip. It wasn't even me saying this. It was you on Instagram about your thoughts on the reality of going overseas, in most cases, going overseas for a hair transplant. People were really upset.
Given whoever complained my number. I'll talk to him.
That's the whole point. You're undercover. We don't want to divulge who you are.
Yeah, I get it, but still, you know.
I don't know if you heard the caller. This guy called in from the Bay Area, a nice guy, I forget his name now for some reason, and he was begging us to give us your information. Begging us.
John, was it John?
Maybe John from the Bay Area. Begging us to give you. And I'm like, dude, he's undercover. He's putting his neck on the line for you guys. I'm not going to give out his information on the telephone, on a radio show.
Did he want to come to see me for consultation?
You trying to make a sale now?
Well, I'm just asking. I'm asking.
Well, you know what? If he calls and you guys could hook up quietly. It's up to you.
That's not necessary. I'm just curious. I was just curious what the reaction was and why. But anyway,
the reason why is because he was absolutely floored by how ethical you are for outing the unethical doctors in this industry.
I had to tell him that it was all an act.
Yeah.
Although, I didn't out anybody by name. We were talking at the time. I think we were talking about Turkey and how you can get bamboozled going there. But, you can get bamboozled here in the United States.
Oh, my God. It is. Of course. It is. Well, I started my career just because of how many people were being bamboozled and conned here in the United States. And it's worse now than it's ever been.
This is where hair loss bamboozling began.
Yeah. This is where the Turks learned how to do it.
Well, the Turks got lucky because it became so visual with, Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. Anybody who goes anywhere to get a hair transplant just because they see a photograph somewhere and they hear the influencer, talking about how great this experience was for him, that's so sad because, they don't understand from the get-go that it's an individual, everyone's different.
Right.
They can't make a choice without actually. They're better off seeing a doctor in person. You got to be comfortable with the doctor. You got to do a lot of, you got to do a lot of, what's the word? You got to really get in there personally.
Real research, real due diligence.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, and it's never going to change, just want to close their eyes and hope everything's going to be all right. And then when it isn't, then they cry about it.
Well,
they don't need it.
I did let you know, and I think I sent you the image of the person that initially was basically saying that they disagreed with your thoughts on going overseas or anywhere, for these large FUE sessions without really being assessed properly and really not knowing what they're getting into. And this person,
that the guy that objected to? Wait a minute. Is that the guy that objected to my comment?
That was one of the guys. Yeah.
You mean there's more than one?
This is the internet, dude. There's a confirmation bias like I've never seen when it comes to this procedure, and those who have decided to take the plunge before they really knew what they were doing, they're just like they want everyone else to go down with them.
Well, when you go someplace like Turkey where there's so many clinics, and before you even get started, probably I'm guessing 10% or less are actually run by doctors who are ethical. The rest of them is just business.
Right.
So if you get lucky and get directed, you're not going to get directed just listening to an influencer like this one that you're talking about. Sorry, buddy, but this guy, if I'm talking to him, if he happens to be listening, his opinion, his one opinion, and based on the photographs. By the way, the photographs don't tell the story. All you see is the frontal result.
Right.
And I'm going to look at that. If I see that result up close, I'm going to scrutinize it. And I can tell you, I'm probably not going to be that impressed. I will agree with you. It's got a lot of hair packed in, right? But there's no attempt to actually make it natural. It's not natural. It just has a lot of hair. And right now that's pleasing to him. But You don't get to see the back of his scalp. You don't see his donor hair. You don't even get to see what area of his scalp needs work. You don't get to assess whether there's miniaturization going on, et cetera, et cetera. He just happens to have coarse, dense hair, and that's been packed in. And so he can take all the pictures he wants from the front. The hairline, as you've mentioned, is rounded. It's not even really that. It's not something that I would want to give a guy. And I'm not talking about just because I'm not Turkish. I'm just saying that rounded look.
What? You're not Turkish.
Hey, let me digress for a minute because this is kind of funny. Years ago, a guy came to my door, knocked on my door, and I opened the door. And I thought he said he wanted a consultation, so I invited the guy in and gave him the sheet to fill out. And then he came to my consult room, and he told me, I said to him, look, you got so much hair. What do you mean you're here for a consultation? He goes, I'm not here for a consultation. I'm here applying for a job. Now, I hired this guy. He was a doctor trained in Moscow who lived in Azerbaijan, but he had, which is right next to Turkey.
Yeah.
He had an extremely low hairline and the thickest mop of hair you'll ever want to see. On top of it, his beard is so thick. And this is a guy that you don't find every day. And when he would be in the office or working with me, and all the patients had the same joke. They would look at him and say, "I want what he's got,"
right.
And we would laugh. And I always said, "That's a hairpiece."
That's hilarious.
And we got a good laugh out of it. Of course, I told him it wasn't really, but I mean, I'm just saying that's an ethnic aberration that you're not going to find that regularly in this world.
Right.
Maybe over there in the Middle East country part over there, you will find it commonly. Because when I went to Turkey last May to figure out up close what was really going on, and I went to the meeting that was there. And I had all my questions answered. There were hair transplant results walking around the town, the airport, everywhere. Every one of them got the same look. And then, so you were there, Joe. You were there at that.
But it's even beyond, Doc, it's even beyond the initial look. It's one thing. If that's the aesthetic that people are happy with, that's fine. It's really about the long-term issues that these younger guys are going to be dealing with that no one really wants to broach. And when you do, these kids or the people that have had surgery, they become very combative. And I don't have a crystal ball. I can't say that this particular guy or somebody else is going to progress significantly as far as their hair loss is concerned. It's probable that they will, even if they're on medication, especially if they had so many grafts moved at such a young age, and that if they were significantly bald when they had it done. But, I doubt that the physicians or the staff or the technicians or whomever, or the consultants, are really taking true measurements and really assessing, doing any type of miniaturization mapping or doing any type of, donor management and letting these guys know, look, this is what we can do for you now to get you through the next 5 years. Or 10 years, and we're going to have this much hair left in the bank. So meanwhile, this is the best we can do for you now, and, take your medication. Let's see what happens. That's not what's happening. It's as many grafts as can be moved as possible. That's what they want, and that's what they offer.
And that's what they get. But the problem is, think about it for a minute, even in this country, if you go into the best hair transplant doctors' offices, if they showed you 10 hair transplant results that are great, you have to understand that's the best they've got. And so anybody looking at those pictures has to wonder, is that really me? Am I really going to be able to get that kind of a result? I mean, these are the best is best. And so if an influencer online does get a good result, then he acts as he communicates to the public who is wanting a great hair transplant result, that they can expect to get what he got. Well, he's misleading them unintentionally, but it's misleading because his situation was probably one that's somewhat of an aberration. And so whether that hair transplant that we were talking about that he went and got happy about Whether or not technically it's a great-looking hair transplant, kind of beside the point. The point really is that he's able to lure people in to come and potentially go where he went just because he has a good result. And they don't even go over there first to get evaluated. They end up just going there.
Well, here's what I find interesting, especially about social media, Instagram in particular, is I will post something, a segment of the show, a minute and a half, whatever it is, like I did, with your segment. And then people start to comment. And then a guy like him who disagrees, and listen, I get it. He's happy, so I can understand why he might disagree. But the casual observer or the person who's, whether following me or just finds that post and then starts to read, they kind of forget what the post was about, and they go right and they focus on the guy that claims to have had a positive experience, and then they try to contact him, either through the comment thread or directly. And that's it. This guy was captured. Just because one person disagreed with your commentary and believes that they had a good experience and then claims, look, go to Turkey. People waste their money in the U.S. Go to Turkey. Get the hairline you want. This is what this guy said. So what does a young, vulnerable guy do? He contacts the guy who had a good experience. It's like, where'd you go? And forgets about everything that we put out there as far as a warning.
Right. So, I mean, a lot of people want to go into an office and come out. They think they kid, mostly kidding, but many of them, when they're young, they're hoping they're going to get Elvis Presley. Over here, that's what you'll hear. I want to look like Elvis.
Right.
Kind of
his hairline's too high. What are you talking about? They don't want Elvis. His hairline's too high.
Yeah. Well, relatively speaking, I guess it would be. But hey,
look, I had just to expound on this. It's not. You said something really important where, the clinic showing 10 results, and you have to ask yourself if you're going to be, like one of those 10. These guys are going to Turkey they're going to clinics wherever they are, based on one result that stood out to them as being their ideal.
Sometimes one photograph, sometimes one photograph with one result.
Yeah. I like this hairline. This is what I want.
If one ever gets a chance to actually see a hair transplant in person, they should never forget to look at the donor afterwards. What's left of the donor? It's so important, and you're not going to ever. I never see that on online photos. They never bother.
Well, there are some influencers, in air quotes, who will have one procedure and then, do a turnaround, show the donor area, and they keep it tight. Doesn't look like there's much scarring. Maybe they had, 3,500 grafts moved and they were distributed, the extractions were distributed well. But what the younger patient or the new patient or prospective patient doesn't understand is that's really it. At those many grafts, this kid is tapped out as far as maintaining the look that he has now. If he has another procedure, he won't be able to wear his hair as short as he currently is.
Right.
And everything's going to change for him.
During the pandemic, when you were trying to do consultations online, Zoom, etc., it was so frustrating. It was so difficult because you really cannot assess somebody that way. You really can't. It's not the same thing as being there with the comb under good lighting and really run through their hair.
Sure.
And so it's tough. It's not easy.
All right. So give us a good quick anecdote, some undercover stuff. That's what these guys want to hear.
I'll give you one. I could reiterate the one that we did back in the day when I did the Maxim Clinic. I'm not going to do that one today. That was a great story. Everyone loved that story. But I want to talk about another one. One of my own patients who happens to be a plastic surgeon who came to me, and he's near me, by the way. He came to me for his surgery, and he's near me now. Not far, probably 20 minutes away. Anyway, he got 2 strip surgeries by me, and he really got a good result. And the next thing I know, I saw him online with a neograph machine advertising my hair transplant using strip on his head as FUE done in his clinic.
Unbelievable.
The neograph machine.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
And so
These
I have
people,
to-
I'm telling you, man, some of these guys, and these are physicians, they are ruthless, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, I happened to run into him in a meeting soon after that. And I went up to him and, greeted him and was friendly. But I asked him since I was at a meeting, I had a comb with me, so I asked him if I could comb through his donor. I was just curious. But really what I wanted to see is what was back there. And I saw the evidence that we'd done a strip surgery. But what he had was, in the nape of his neck, those fine hairs that most people think they can do without.
Right.
He was a brown-skinned man, an Indian from India, and all he had was white dots throughout the nape of his neck, indicating that somebody had drilled his that area with
in his
punch.
nape too. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But nowhere else was there any evidence. So in other words, he felt ethical about making his claim because there was an FUE procedure performed on him, and stretching the truth.
Right.
He could say that he had an FUE procedure, but it wasn't the result.
Right.
Now, the irony here is that result is now in. Should I tell you his name so you can look him up and see the great result?
So yeah, whatever you want. Absolutely.
Name is his first name is Baldev.
Baldev?
Dr. Baldev Sandhu, Sandhu. Look him up by that name.com, and you'll see him glowing on the front page of his website with the great hair restoration procedure performed by me using the strip method. Got white hair on brown skin. You would probably not be able to get that result doing FUE.
Right.
Because we used as many
Did you find
double
him, Joe?
follicular units as we could.
Yeah.
So,
older fella?
Yeah. Big
Yeah,
shiny teeth.
here he is.
And, yeah.
Yeah, that's him.
With a nice
Yeah.
result.
Yeah.
Nice result.
Can you get that image on screen for us or no?
I can.
Okay. So go ahead, Doc.
Keep talking.
Well, the funny part about it is I wouldn't even be reiterating this story now because this is probably 6 years ago, before the pandemic. But recently I was in a hair transplant office where they had some marketing materials from other companies, and they had the Venus Concepts brochure, the national brochure, Venus Concepts, covering artists and
Neocraft, yeah.
And sure enough, this guy, by name, is in the brochure representing his Neographed hair transplant.
That is effing believable. I mean,
wow.
I sound surprised. Wow. I'm not really surprised because that's the reality of this industry. But I think it's so important that consumers are hearing it from you, Undercover.
Well, the sad part about it is not only is the company selling his hair transplant result, they're also selling their machines. Because that's the brochure that they're going to sell the doctors at meetings that are going to potentially buy an artist robot or a Neograph machine. So it's just very, very unethical, and it's clever because the pictures that they show are above his eyebrows. It'd be difficult probably to prove in a courtroom that that's the same guy that I would show them if I needed to. But I mean, they're very careful.
Able to.
There you go.
Oh my God! Look at this guy. Hold on. Wow. He's got some choppers too, man. Look at this dude.
He does. He does.
But that is a very natural result. And so, what was his Norwood classification before?
He was probably a 7.
I'm going to guess probably 11.
I mean, looking at his tempo points, it looks like he was at least a 6 or 7.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, so he must have been thrilled.
Yeah, apparently he was thrilled enough to change his career and go into hair restoration because he got a good result that he could use. He probably got kickbacks from Venus Concept using his photographs.
Wow.
And, ironically, after he went out and started doing hair restoration, he contacted me with a brochure type of thing, asking if I wanted to join his marketing group.
Really?
Wanted me to come in the group, to sell FUE hair restoration with him.
I think, and I think that's an interesting. I'm going to segue into it based on that point. What a lot of consumers, and they're patients, but they're consumers. They, for whatever reason, they still believe that they're just going to see the doctor, and that these physicians are really in general out and after their best interest, and that they're it's first do no harm and all that happy horse shit. But the reality is, this is a ruthless, cutthroat business. That's what it is. And there's a handful of you guys who, you have to conduct business. You have to be business people to do well, and to get people to to come and come to your practice. But it's only a handful of you guys who really give a crap about these guys. The vast majority, even here in the U.S., everywhere else in the world, we're not just talking about Turkey or India, they could care less. They know that it's going to take 12 months before someone sees the final result. They just cross their fingers they don't get a call back that something went wrong. And they just keep, no pun intended, plugging away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the way
I'm
that
sure
it is.
I'm sure that this guy has never been confronted by anybody who came in to see him. They probably, because they're not going to know what to look for. It's a little bit far-fetched to think that the average consumer is going to know, like I did, to go look at his donor hair to see what really went on with him. I was looking specifically to see what he had actually done back there.
Yeah.
And by the way, once I saw what I knew was the truth, I didn't even confront him about it. I just let it
You just filed it away. That's what I do.
Because
I got files on everybody.
But I guess the point is, if that kind of situation is existing right under my nose, I mean, you got to really do your homework wherever you are in the world, including this country.
Yeah.
Just because you don't go to Turkey and you stay here doesn't mean you're on the
that's a good point. First of all, you can pay a lot of money to be botched, or you can pay a lot less money to be botched. The choice is yours. So wherever you go, you have to do your research. The larger organizations out there, they're really focusing on inexpensive hair transplants or, black market hair transplant clinics. The entire industry, for the most part, is black market. Everyone is flying under the radar except for a handful of good guys.
Well, they should be black market, but the black market should be a clinic that's actually doing good hair transplant. Because the concept of who technically is supposed to be holding the punch, et cetera. I mean, I went through that before, and at the Maxim Clinic, when the doctor said, "Doc, are you the one who's going to hold the punch 3,000 times on my scalp and do the FUE procedure?" And he said, "Oh, hell no. I'm a plastic surgeon. That's
the best.
Work."
Yeah.
That's the best.
And then, that, of course, that bothered me back then. But, the way things have evolved, the argument about whether the strip doctor was actually doing things that were legal, quote unquote, nobody really questioned it when people were dissecting strips of scalp and then cutting it up and putting it back into the scalp. There was no real reason to think, if it was questioned, that was even legal.
Well, look, the reality is, if you go into a medical technician's scope of practice in any state of the country, you can see what's within their scope of practice and what's not. And that's why I always found it very hypocritical, and I never really understood what the grand poobahs and the politicians of your field were trying to accomplish by stating that there were black market clinics and then there were more ethical clinics or non-black market clinics, when, like you just said, I mean, whoever's really the tool is only as good as the hand that wields it, and there's a lot of good non-physicians who have been doing a lot of great work in hair transplant surgery for decades, and no one said a word until it started to eat into their bottom line.
Well, the thing was, early in the FUE evolution, it was hard to extract the grafts. It was hard, and therefore there was a question whether you were going to get viable grafts, at one point. But now, I mean, I witnessed recently how smooth it goes. You're not even tired after doing 1,500 grafts. You do that very quickly now with the tools that are available.
Right.
So the problem isn't that, because whoever's doing the extracting and et cetera, the answer really isn't there. The answer is what happens to the grafts after they've been extracted, as far as how they get arranged on the scalp, et cetera, to produce.
And also, how are the grafts handled? How are they inserted? I mean, every step of the process dictates the final result.
Yes, but what I'm trying to say, though, is that although you're right, that all the technical aspects of it are important, and hopefully they're all, being done correctly. But the actual hair transplant result itself is an artistic result, has to do with the ability of the doctor to actually arrange the hairs that are going to go back in the head in such a way that it's going to be an attractive, natural-looking head of hair. And that's not what's happening now, because a lot of the doctors out there that have set up on every corner buying one of these expensive machines at the derm meeting or the plastic surgery meeting and thinking that a couple of techs coming in as itinerants can come in and they can close their eyes and go in the other part of the office while the hair transplant is done. And, obviously I've seen that done, and we did that story once. And, of course, when it's all said and done, the result's not good. Well, the two people coming in don't have any skin in the game, and they never really had the eye in the first place.
Here's the reality, and I don't know if you're going to be around for this, Doc, but you'll be alive. But I don't know if you'll still be practicing. But
I'm only 52, man. I'll be around.
Oh, that's right. So in another 5 years, there's going to be a whole new level of repair patient that your industry has never seen. I really think you guys have to be prepared to somehow do your best to help these guys. The repairs went up, and by second quarter just ended today. Repair surgeries in 2023 went up 59%. 59%. It's going to double in the next 2 years.
And what you're going to have there is you're going to have the next gold rush, because
you're damn right. I'm opening up repair clinics all over the country.
And you'll charge twice or three times as much as the going rate today, or more.
By the way, anyone who's listening, don't take that out of context. I probably won't do that. But you know what? If I did, we'd be helping a lot of people because it's going to be needed. And you know what's going to happen? If there's not true professionals, who are working in these repair clinics, then the guys are going to go in, try to get repaired. They're going to be so screwed up that they're going to be stuck wearing wigs or under a hat for the rest of their lives.
Well, how about a visor wig, man?
Yeah, listen, that's another business.
I didn't want to bring that up tonight because I still think that there's potential there. So let's just keep that one quiet for now, because I don't. Yeah, but anyway,
we'll have a little TBT on there on the cover.
Yeah, the repair industry though is no doctor likes doing that, and when it comes around to doing it, it's going to be under a best effort.
Well, that's scenario. The whole thing, and there's going to be a best effort scenario. People are going to have to sign a waiver. Dr. Yazdan, we took a clip from the Global Hair Loss Summit from his talk last year, and he was talking about how he kind of sees it as, he calls it the apple tree effect. When you go and you pick apples, initially when you go to the tree, you pick the best possible apples, like you're picking the best grafts. By the time you get back to the tree, then you have the second best apples that you could pick as far as, he's comparing it to grafts. And if it's a third repair, then everything else is kind of degraded if there's any more apples left. And so repairing these guys, especially FUE, repairing strip wasn't as difficult as repairing large FUE cases. For many of these young kids, it's going to be impossible. They will not.
Well, the repairs can be.
It'll be irreparable.
Well, they're going to have solutions like shaving their head and using SMP.
Well, that's what they're trying now, but it's not really working out. It's especially for the long term. Maybe SMP will improve. Maybe they'll improve it. They'll have better inks. Hopefully, they'll be able to regenerate hair in the next few years, and more hair could be placed into scar tissue. But what's going to come around in the next 5 years? It's going to be. You're right. It's going to be a gold rush. And anyone who gets into just opening up repair clinics, they're going to crush.
Yeah.
All right,
by the way, real quick, back to the SMP. A lot of guys go into this hair FUE transplant, wherever they go, thinking, well, I'll give it a shot. And if it doesn't work out, at least I don't have a linear scar.
Yeah.
And then we can always do SMP, or this and that, take it from whatever. Yeah. And patch me up. That's their casual attitude toward a hair transplant right now. And that's why.
Well, you live in
coming back.
You're on the East Coast, and I know that in your area you probably see a lot of bad SMP. I can tell you that what's walking around here in Los Angeles is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. These Caucasian guys with these low, tight, Afrocentric, African American hairlines drawn onto their scalps. I mean, I can't even believe it. And it's like, again, it's the new normal. You go to the gym and you see these kids with this, this helmet of SMP, and you're like, is this real? Am I imagining? Is this some? Do they think of it as a tattoo, or do they really think that these look like hair follicles?
I don't think they care. Honestly, too many of them don't.
I'm
really
in the wrong
care.
business, Doc.
I am too. There's so many bad work of all kinds, whether it's SMP or FUE, both of them, just everywhere I look. That I really can't even feel proud about saying that I'm a hair transplant surgeon, because the work is so bad that I feel it's back like in the days when it was plugs that you were a hair transplant.
Well, one day when the time is right, when you're willing to come out from behind the shadows, the world will know that you are the undercover doc and that you're willing to spread the word and tell the truth about this cesspool of an industry.
Yeah, but the reason Undercover hasn't really done any recent work is because he found that it was like whack-a-mole. I thought when I started that I would be able to go and stamp out some fires. And then I found out every time I have a story, there were 10 new clinics popped up. Right now, the next 2 clinics that I would like to go visit, and whether they're listening or not, doesn't matter. One of them is called the Barbers Guild. You heard of it in Manhattan?
Did you hear that, Joe?
It's sort of a
I have.
They started here in L.A.
Well, you go in there and you get your toenails manicured and your fingernails manicured and massage probably. And by the way, we'll do an FUE while you're here if you don't mind. Oh, sure, I'll do it. That kind of thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
And then there's another one that's right around the airport over here, and they've got about 5 or 6 big billboards with a good-looking model, probably never had any hair work done at all, advertising $2 per graft. I actually called that one, but you can't ever talk to anybody to schedule something. You have to do it all online and walk in without ever having spoken to anybody. So I didn't get around to it. But that one I've got to go see. I wonder if they place themselves thinking that there's airport traffic going, people seeing it coming and going, and that's why they put it there.
Well, look,
otherwise,
undercover. If you're willing to do it, we will get you a undercover rig with a little spy cam and everything that you need to record the conversation, and we'll love to put it online. We'll have to look at we have to speak to an attorney first, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, but to leave you with a laugh, let's do this. You were talking earlier about the anti-aging expositor jumping up, and you were talking about one all of a sudden. I didn't hear any mention of the QWO procedure. Have you heard of that one?
The what?
QWO. QWO. QWO.
No.
Have you heard of it?
I don't think I have.
That's the buttock injection. I heard it about 2 years ago. It's to alleviate cellulite. It's one of those procedures.
Oh, the QWO.
Yes.
No, I haven't heard of it.
You've got it done?
Yeah. What? No.
Are you kidding me? No. Tillman looks like he's been sitting on gravel for a year.
Yeah, well, you're perfect. You're a perfect candidate. But anyway, it's one of those that it's kind of quick and easy. You do about 12 injections per treatment. You're going to have to go back. Not really considering how many times you have to go. It's not really that. It's relatively expensive. But lately, I've been gallivanting, and I've seen a lot of potential candidates really, that would easy for me to approach and see if they might not be interested in coming to my clinic if I set something up.
Hey, listen, it could be a whole new gig for you, man.
Oh, it's not really a whole new gig; it's a side kick.
A side gig.
Yeah.
Listen, Undercover, we're going to take one more call before we call it a night. We started about 5 minutes late, so we have time for another call, and people are waiting.
Okay.
I appreciate you calling in. It's always fun. And, if you want to start to do some real undercover work again, you let us know.
Okay. All right, well, let's see what the next guy can do if he can top me.
All right, Doc. Take it easy.
Okay.
See you, Doc.
All right, let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, I had to call in. This is John from the Bay Area. After hearing that, I had no choice but to call in because, hey, yeah, I would like. Hey, the undercover doc's instincts were right. I would like the consultation. You got my phone number, I assume, up on your computer. If you could, and he said, would I want a consultation? So he basically consented to it. So if you want to give him my number, he could call me. Obviously, you probably won't give me his number, but you have his number. You can give him my number in that. I assume it's on your computer.
Is it a 518 area code?
I don't want to 510 area code.
Oh, is it a 510 area code?
Correct. Yes.
Someone needs glasses.
When I was doing radio, when I was doing radio, yeah, the numbers are all right there. They're right there in front of you on your screen.
Yes, they are.
So if you can give him my number and he can call me, I do want to get a consultation. That'd be great. Hey, anybody listening to him would want to deal with him because he's the one saying that all the work is bad, and he's the most critical one. So, that's usually the doctors aren't like that, et cetera, et cetera. So, anyway, like I said before, if you could do that, Spencer and Joe, that'd be great. I do want to tell you I did have a consultation, by the way, with the clinic last week. But you have an undercover doc on there where we prompted me to call. And it was one of the highly rated clinics. Should I discuss it? Should I talk about it for a few minutes?
You can absolutely discuss it. Let's do it.
Okay. And basically, so it's an FUE only clinic. And of course I called about, because I still do some TV from time to time. And so I called about the no shave. And by the way, Joe, I did catch one of your, on your thing, a repeat of when you had Nussbaum on there about that conversation. He was talking about the no shave FUE. Anyway, we talked about it, the clinic out of Beverly Hills, and it's one of the, I don't know if I should name it or not, whatever you think, whatever. But he was saying, and it was the assistant, it wasn't the doctor. And the doctor, by the way, has been a guest on your show, Spencer. So he was basically saying, you know what? You can only do about 1,700 grafts with the no shave FUE. If you do, you got to go for the gusto. Even I told him, I was on TV, I'd rather prefer not to shave my head, but he's pushing 3,000 to 3,500, which is the most I ever had anybody tell me, any doctor tell me. And he said that you should shave it. You should totally shave your head and do a normal FUE, totally shaven down. And that's what he was trying to push on me. I asked him about, the strip, and he doesn't do the strip. Of course, he talked bad about the strip. But one thing he said, and you guys, this is a couple things he said that I didn't know, and you guys would know. One, he said you could only extract about 2,500 grafts from a strip. And that's why doctors who do strips are usually doing 2,500 and under, because that's all you can get from a strip, number one. And number two, he said with the FUE, that he can cherry pick and get the best grafts. He can see them before he takes them out with the FUE. I didn't know they could do that. I didn't know they could see the quality of the grafts before they took them out. That's what he said.
Well, they can see they can see how many hairs are in the grafts. They can see if the graft is miniaturized or not. So yes, you can definitely see the quality of the hair growing. It's not as though you can see underneath the skin there. I mean, to some degree, with loops, you see a little bit underneath the skin. But yeah, you can definitely see what the grafts are going to. What they really try to work around miniaturized grafts, especially physicians who know what they're doing.
Okay, is it true though that with a strip you can't do more than 2,500?
No, you
That's
can't.
Kind of what he was implying.
You can. I mean, but the average strip. I mean, there are those who have been able to do much larger cases, take out bigger pieces of tissue. Joe Tillman knows about this intimately, and he can probably speak to it. But there is something to be said about moving, and 2,500 grafts is not a small case. It's a good average size case. There's something about taking a more conservative strip, seeing how the grafts grow, seeing if that's what you need or not, and taking 100% of the sweet spot that, could be beneficial to a lot of people. Joe, what are your thoughts?
I think that any doctor that's saying that you're not seeing clinics that are taking more than 2,500 grafts with a strip isn't paying attention.
Yeah, it's probably more of a consultant that would say that than a doctor anyway.
Or whomever in the hair industry, they're not paying attention, or they're just trying to justify what they do in the clinic. I'm not speaking to anyone in particular.
That's what it felt like. That's what it felt like. He was trying to justify. They were steering me over. It was a classic steer me away. I was calling No Shave FUE. Next thing you know, they're trying to steer me to a full shave FUE with 3,000 to 3,500 grafts. That's the way it felt.
Here's the reality. Even if a clinic is part of what we do, part of what Joe does, part of work with Spencer Stevenson, whatever it is, really, we are working within the parameters of trying to find clinics and surgeons who are providing the best overall outcomes compared to everybody else. Sadly, like I said, this is a business, and depending on who they hire, depending on what a physician may have learned from whoever they pre-turnship with, whatever it is, it's the practice of medicine, and it's a business. So they're going to practice medicine the way they see fit. They're going to practice hair transplant surgery the way that they've been able to practice it and have good outcomes. And they are going to, in some cases, maybe disagree with another IAHS member or another really well-known physician. But the bottom line is most of these guys are going to try to sell you to go to them. That's it. They want, if you're going to have surgery, they want to perform it.
And one of the things to understand is, when we're talking about different clinics that we both work with, we how can I word this? You
Honestly?
are given the option. Of course, you're given the option to listen and talk and listen to these different clinics and make these choices on your own. You're not pigeonholed with one clinic just because they're associated with someone that you may like us, or they're part of any other group or whatever. You have choices with various clinics, and different clinics do have different opinions about surgery in general. I've talked about this before, where you're in one clinic and this bubble develops around the clinic think, as I refer to it, where it's this clinic culture of what's realistic and what's not for them, and everyone else is wrong. I've been there. Like I used to think like that. I used to think that FUE is terrible compared to good strip, and for the longest time it was. But I noticed over time I can't say that anymore because FUE is getting good. The people that are promoting it the heaviest are getting more consistent with it. It certainly looks natural. That was never an issue with a lot of the initial pioneers and how they were performing it, simply because they already knew how to do hair transplant surgery. But you can't fault them entirely for how they're telling you about their clinic. They may actually believe this. Like I do think that if someone honestly believes that no one's doing more than 2,500 grafts with strip, they aren't paying attention, because there are some clinics that have been doing it for years. Is that the right
That's what I thought.
approach for? Is that the right approach for them? No, obviously, because they don't believe.
You
in
also
it,
have
and
to
that's
understand one thing I want to make this point to is it's really important. There is no standard of care textbook in this industry.
Yeah.
There's no general standard of care. That's the sad part. And every clinic has their own staff that's trained in a very specific way. So it's not like they're going to meetings, everyone's sitting down together saying, okay, this is how we as a society, we as a specialty should be talking to patients and selling patients, and because that's what they're doing, and educating patients. They say they're educators, but they're salesmen in general. Some of them are better educators than others. That doesn't happen. It's every gorilla for themselves. Every company, and they are companies, these are organizations, these are businesses, they want to be better than the next. They want to do more cases. They want to make more money. They want to be more successful, and every staff is trained differently. That's just the nature of the game. So when you come to us...
I believe that...
Yeah. Go ahead.
If I could say that, and not having, that's an interesting point, Spencer, because if there is no textbook or no general standard of care, it makes it difficult to sue. And I think that may be intentional. It's hard to sue a doctor for malpractice if there's no general standard.
You can't sue anyway.
Let me stop you.
You're signing a waiver, but that's not it.
Yeah, and there's
makes it more difficult.
There's not a big concerted behind the scenes collusion to create a lack of anyone's ability to pin someone down for a lawsuit. That just these guys have a hard enough time not stabbing each other in the back the first chance they get.
Like, I had that video.
There's no big collusion on this.
As soon as this guy comes out as the grand poopah, I may put out that video again. When this guy is basically saying these guys are essentially, the worst.
Yeah.
The biggest politicians are the worst in the industry. But anyway, so it's not even about being sued. Listen, you can't sue these guys. You sign an arbitration agreement. Anytime you sit down with them, you're signing an arbitration. If I go to get my dick looked at, or have just a normal exam, my physical, I have to sign an arbitration agreement now. It's ridiculous. But if you want to see a doctor, especially in California and in New York and some other states, this is what you have to sign. Otherwise, you're like, see ya.
Well, even Undercover Doc mentioned that he couldn't sue that guy even if he wanted to, because it would be hard to prove, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No, I get it. That thought just came to mind but it would be good to have some general standard of care guidelines. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's kind of off the topic a little bit. But I'm just saying that I thought it was interesting that they said that they kind of guided me away. And I'm not saying that maybe 1,700 grafts, in his opinion, wasn't enough and wouldn't make that much of a difference. I'm sure he's being truthful about that. But boy, oh boy, they steered me into the $3,000 to $3,500, $8 a graft, by the way, $3,000 to $3,500. It's completely shaved. When I went in there telling them what my kind of concerns were and what I needed it for, but sure enough, they steered me away anyway. They steered me to
this guy. The guy has a job, and his job is to basically sell the procedure that they do. That's it. Not the procedure that you want, not the procedure that other people do, but the procedure that they do. And the procedure that they do is good. I mean, they are providing people with a really, on average, a really great service, and people are very happy. But that's not the procedure you want.
Well, he said also, if you shave your head, all your hair would grow back in 6 months to a year. That's not true. Your hair can't grow back that fast. If you have longish hair, it's going to grow back in 6 months to even a year.
No, you get between an average of a quarter to half an inch of growth, depending. And you're older, so you're at a man of advanced years. I'm kidding. I love saying that to you.
No, you're right. It would be 3 years, but it'd be 3 years before that my hair would grow back. It would probably take 3 years for it to grow back to the length it is. Maybe 2 years. But for him to say that also, oh no, grow back in 6 months. It's like, Jesus Christ. It's like, come on. See, I didn't mean to say that. Maybe that's the wrong way I should have said that.
It's okay.
But it's like, come on, man. It's like, come on. It's like, dude, are you looking at a script or something? Are you like telling me this is a top grade clinic I'm in here? I'm a respectable potential client. And I was kind of disappointed. He's a nice guy, but I was a little bit disappointed. That's all.
I understand that, and maybe you're so disappointed is because you've been spending so much time listening to us, hearing the reality about this industry.
You guys are the best, but when I hear Undercover Doc, he's telling it like it is, man. I don't think he would BS. I don't think he BS's his patients. Really, and I bet that's why he's so successful. And he also seems like he truly loves it. He really loves what he's doing. That's the vibe I get from him. And those are the kind of people you want: doctors, lawyers, they love what they do. It's a passion for them as much as an occupation. So
he's really got you. He's really got you fooled, man.
Well,
I'm just kidding. Undercover Doc's the
You're
best.
probably right. If he does, then I'm conned again.
No.
I'm conned again. It's
No.
true. You're right. If he's putting on a whole con, then he's good at it.
Look, I wouldn't have him as Undercover Doc if, first of all, I've known this guy for 20. It's got to be 26 years, and he was one of the guys that I looked to when I was really doing my research. And one of the first guys that I found that was really doing, at the time, pure follicular unit transplantation, really refined work, to the point where, I really believe that even, I would say back in 2000, and this was in the late 90s, but around 2001, 2002, we really did reach a logical endpoint. Mm-hmm. And then when FUE came into play, and when I introduced it to the U.S. and the doctors in the U.S. and Europe, I honestly believe that it was just going to be an adjunct for those who have been stripped out, for those who needed repair work that were unrepairable, for those who may only progress minorly, as older people who want a hair transplant and don't want a linear scar, stuff like that. But that's not what these guys saw. These guys saw dollar signs. And that's it. They saw a scarless or no linear scar procedure. They figure it out, and then the game changed. And then consumers, that's what they wanted. So the consumers really dictated the devolution of this field. Not the doctors went along with it, but the consumers dictated it.
But now they're even adding. He's even adding that. Hey, look, I could do more than a strip. Now they're even saying, before, I guess, from listening to you guys, you could do more with the strip than with the FUE, like you said, just a little bit if you're older. Now they're claiming FUEs are better for bigger job, more grafts than FUT is for more.
Yeah, I would say my opinion, and I'm not a physician, I've never performed surgery, is that the biggest bang for your buck is a hybrid procedure. If you need a lot of grafts moved, you need to have a hybrid of strip and FUE.
I know, but this guy was just saying, hey, look, sir, if I gave you this many grafts, man, you would have looked great. See, this is what he's saying. Look, forget the 1,700, the 2,000. I can give you 3 to 3,500, man, and you will look like Elvis. You will be. This is what he's saying, and this is how I can do it. See, that's the angle they're using. They're going to forget that other stuff. Let me make you beautiful, and this is how we can do it.
And you know what?
They do it.
They honestly, they believe that that's the case, because if you look at their cases, and they're doing larger cases in general, I think they're a little more conservative now than they were before. In general, they have very full-looking, really nice-looking results. But, there's a sacrifice to that. You do have to shave your head. You do have to have more grafts placed. You are going to have to wait longer for your final result because you like to wear your hair longer. You are going to have to feel uncomfortable, and you're not going to be able to, be on television if you're still doing TV for a long time.
Right. That's right.
It's not the surgery for you, man. That's it. You've made your decision.
Well, that's what I want to call. I do want to talk to Undercover Doc about a strip. I go back and forth. You know what? All things. I know the strip is more painful, etc. But all things being equal, after hearing all the stuff I do, I think the strip would be probably the best way, especially if you want to wear your hair a little longer.
Let me tell you, Undercover would love to get his hands on you then.
Well, I'm just saying you know what? Doesn't he do FUE also?
He does.
Or does he do only strip?
No, he does.
There you go.
I mean, he really is a fan, as I am, of an elegant strip.
I would like to tell. So if you could give him my number.
No, I would never have it done. But I'm just saying, if you're going to have it done.
And I will report back on the air how the consultation goes too. I will report back how it goes.
Undercover patient.
Yeah, you'll be the undercover patient.
No. I will tell him, hey, man, do you mind? Matter of fact, I have enough respect for him and what he does undercover. I would ask him if it's cool. And I bet he would say, no problem. You talk about it. I bet he would say, no problem. And so I would if he said that.
Just don't go drinking with him, okay? Just promise me that.
No. It's all business. I mean, I know I get back east. No. It's legit because I feel like I've made a lot of progress. You guys have helped me a lot, and I want to just be a piece to whatever I do or don't do. And so that's why I would like that. I mean, I want to turn over. I don't want to leave any stone unturned.
Well, you know what? I will give him your number, and if he decides to call you, great. He'll identify
that's
himself.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
You know, he may actually, you may have to he may pick you up from the airport, blindfold you before he takes you to his office or whatever. But that's up to you.
Hey, you guys aren't going to get me kidnapped now, are you? You're not going to kidnap me to Turkey somewhere, make me pay a huge ransom to get back to the United States.
Look, you told me you're in radio, so I know you don't have much money.
Hey, no, I got to stay in the United States. I'm not going out of the country.
All right, brother. Well, listen, I will give him your number.
Thank you.
And
you guys are the best.
You take it from there, all right?
All right, and I'll report back too on everything. I'll keep listening, and I've got you guys. I've told other people about you guys. They're listening to you. So the two of you guys together are the 1-2 punch. You guys really do a great service for everybody, because otherwise, believe me, these guys are slick talkers. Whether they mean it or not, I don't mean slick in a negative way. They're very good at selling to vulnerable people like me. And so you guys have shined the light on it. And thank you so much again. Thank you.
Oh, you got it, man. Good luck. Thanks for
buddy.
the compliment.
Good luck.
I appreciate it. Take care.
All right, thank you.
All right, Joe. I mean, we have more calls, but I don't know what you want to do. If you're hangry, I just ordered a chicken. So
I do have to go. So sorry to everyone that's been waiting or that's waiting now. Got stuff to do.
Oh, I know who's waiting.
Can't do it.
You know what? Let's give him 2 minutes exactly. You could time.
All right, 2 minutes. Do it.
All right, I think I know who this is. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah. Hi.
Hey, my brother went to a clinic, Dr. Alvi Armani in Hollywood, and his procedure looked pretty good. So I decided to go and check it out myself. And way back in the day when I was like 21, I had a strip surgery done.
Yeah.
And the doctor told me that when I asked him about what can you do for the back, essentially the strip surgery, if you're going to, repair my front hairline a little bit. And she said he does this little
How long
thing
ago
where
was this?
This is a couple months ago. I went there. I didn't get anything done. I just went for a consultation just to see everything. But my brother's surgery is over 6 months ago.
Okay.
And his hair looks great.
Sorry, where did you just said you had a strip someplace?
Oh, back when I was 21, in Florida, a long time ago.
Which was how long ago?
I'm 41 now, so 20 years ago.
20 years ago. Okay, all right, fair enough. Okay, continue.
Yeah, and so.
Hold on. By the way, sorry, Joe. I thought it was somebody else. We'll give you. Joe's got to go in a couple of minutes, so we'll answer your question, and you can always call back next week. But go ahead.
Well, I was just wondering. He said what he could do for my strip surgery thing, the scars. He said he takes this needle and he jabs it in there, and he basically just breaks up the scar tissue and pulls it out. But I was thinking, how does that work? Have you guys ever even heard about that, or is that just some kind of hopeful thinking?
Well, how big? First of all, how big is the scar?
It's pretty thin. I mean, they did a really good job. I mean, it's just I was just thinking about well, if I decide I want to cut my hair really really short on the back, how is that going to look?
I don't know what the doctor. Which doctor did you speak to?
I'm trying to remember. It wasn't. I guess the two guys that used to work there are no longer living anymore. The Dr. Buvak and Alvi Armani. So there's another guy. He
Dr.
was really,
Hughes.
Really nice, really great guy.
He's Dr. Hughes. Yeah, he's a super nice guy.
Yeah, he did my brother's surgery, and it looks fantastic. I was just, I just wanted a second opinion on what he was talking about, which was this, taking something and just taking out the scar tissue.
Well, here's the good news. He was a flight surgeon. He was a real guy for a long time.
Yeah.
So so he definitely has true surgical skill. So I'm not exactly sure what he's talking about. Maybe there's a name and procedure that I'm not aware of, or that I don't think Joe knows either because he looks a little puzzled.
No, I am.
Yeah, I was looking all about it. Like, what is he talking about? And I was actually
you
just
should
thinking about
contact
calling
them
up.
and call them up. He'd give you some more time and ask him for specifics, and then come to us, and I'd be more than happy to see if it's anything that I've heard of or if it's reasonable. He may just be talking about I was going to say simple, but a scar revision, which is not necessarily simple. But if you have a really small scar, I mean, they can remove the scar tissue and probably do it pretty safely. But I don't know. You still have another scar left behind, so I don't know if that makes sense.
That's what I was thinking. Like, yeah, you remove the scar, there's going to be a scar there anyway because you don't have hair there, and then
I look at it like this: if you are happy with your donor scar now as it is, you're just looking to get over that little hump to where you can have that last, you can get past that last barrier of what strip surgery presents, which is the inability to go as short as you want. I would first I would learn more about this procedure that they're talking about. I think I have an idea of what he's talking about, but I would also consider, maybe some FUE into that scar, because if it's really thin, it wouldn't take a lot to do it. It'd probably be so few grafts that you need that you'd have to wind up paying a baseline fee just to make it worth their time of like $1,500 or something, just to have the procedure, and then cost of grafts on top of that. That's a fairly common approach. But is it something that you even want to deal with? Like you can probably do a short haircut now. You're just looking for that extra little something that you can't quite do. Is it just a small little thing that you want?
It's basically if I try to have like a really nice military cut, going all the way up, there's a spot where you can just see that line that runs across.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like,
let me tell you this. If I try to do that, I'm bald in the back. So that's why I grow my hair a little longer and I wear paint. And that's just the way that I have to live my life. I could have anyone do any surgery I want, free of charge. That's just my reality. I don't want to push the envelope. I feel very fortunate that I'm able to live the life that I can with the amount of hair that I have. I don't want to effort that. Anytime you have any type of procedure, there's a chance of making yourself worse. So if you can live with yourself the way that you have for so long, and you're just trying to make things a little bit more perfect, then I would probably hold off. But, have you ever tried cosmetic concealer? Like when you cut your hair short?
I was thinking about doing one of those tattoo things or whatever, just on that little strip. I didn't know if it would even hold the ink, though.
It might. I heard you'd have to do a test try, but you could also wear something like Kobren. Women wear makeup all over their entire face. You put a little bit of this in your hair, comb your hair down. It could disappear if you have the right coloring.
Oh, okay. I never heard that. So, yeah.
Or you could try a fade that's not quite all the way up the back of the scalp, just kind of tapers out to a slightly longer length right below the scar, where you can still have a high and tight, just not all the way to the top, like a CB cut in the Navy. Yeah. You might be happy with how that turns out. Just kind of work with the height of that fade, and see if that's good enough for you.
All right.
But you could certainly call Dr. Hughes, ask him about the specifics of the procedure he was talking about, and call us back. I'm curious.
Sure. I'll let you guys know when I find out. And I mean, I was wondering, I guess, Joe, you had a couple strip surgeries done, right? And you concealed that with
15.
Right? Oh, 15. Wow. Okay.
I had 37, actually. No, just kidding. I've had, I think, seven strips.
Show them the back of your head.
So sure. Hold on.
I mean, that's impressive, man.
My head's turned around. Like I just had a haircut the other day too, and the lady that cuts it, she's literally holding the clippers with no guard, and she's just kind of just freeballing it, just like this.
Okay.
She's that good.
And dang.
The issue for me is the only issue I have is the direction of the change in hair growth direction above and below my donor area, or the donor scar. The scar itself is beautiful. The last strip surgery I had, I had 2 strips taken, one on either side, to join up with the back of the scar, so it's still one scar. The previous surgery to that was a scar revision of just that area in the back, in the occipital region, because it was a little bit wider than I wanted. And then this last surgery I had, which was 4 years ago, next month, I had 700 or 800 FUE. About 100 of those were put into that occipital donor scar to make it even better. And now it's for all intents and purposes, it's as close to invisible as you can get.
Yeah. So I guess hairs will actually grow in that spot. That's cool. I didn't know that the hairs will grow over. Okay, that's good to know. Thanks for the information.
All right, brother. Listen, good
You're
luck.
welcome.
I am curious to know about this procedure. So if you're curious, let us
I'm
know
gonna
as well.
call and get that information. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks. I appreciate you guys.
You got it, man. Take care.
All right. Thanks for calling, man. Bye-bye.
care.
Okay, good show. Got to get out of here. Joe, thank you so much for your time. I know that your main thing is a main event, and giving of yourself to the bald truth still after all of your successes. I mean, I'm touched.
Well, let me get something straight here. The bald truth is my main event, because this is where I started.
I like that.
You see what I did there?
Yeah.
Get it?
What happens if I get out? If I want to leave, I don't want you to.
This is always my home, as far as shows go.
All right. Well, maybe at
Just had
some
to say
point
that.
we'll get it really rocking on the YouTube and the internet. This show has not really kicked ass since 2009. Okay, I'm just saying. Something has to be done, people.
Well, if people would share the broadcast, that would certainly go a long way. Just taking the link and pasting it everywhere.
Nobody really wants to know the truth. That is the bottom line. Now, when I was on the radio, they were forced to hear it because the stations are playing the show.
Yeah, they had no choice.
No choice.
Either that or Lawrence Welk.
That's really. It was that long ago. I think he was still alive. All right, guys.
Yeah.
We are out of here. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. Thanks for everyone in the chat room. Thanks to all of the callers. Thank you, Undercover Doc. I think Joe just made you a sale. So until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you so much for listening. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the programme, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid.